Peace. This is Jansport J, and you're tuned into the Ambiance podcast.
What up, people? Welcome to Ambiance podcast. Sitting to the right of me, I got Jansport J, a producer out of Covina, California. And this is a full circle moment for me because I am from Covina as well, if you guys didn't know. So seeing somebody like Jay really putting on for the city means a lot to me because not many people out of Covina really do big things like he is. So it's always inspirational for me to see people like you really putting on for the city, you know?
I appreciate that, man. I'm just blessed and lucky to still be doing it. You know, there's a lot of us that started out together that still kind of running our own race. And, you know, I'm just proud to be from the Cove. You know, our whole thing was with LA being what it is, we know that we are LA, but we're not that far from it. So we just kind of came out the gate, you know, just being proud of where we're from young, and it's just dope to see where it's at now.
Yeah, and it's dope that you still rep it, even at this where you're at right now. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people tend to forget about where they're from. You know what I mean? So is that important for you to remember where you're from and to put on for the city?
1,000%. It's important for different reasons. It's the Cove is what made me just a versatile person and somebody that could adapt to different things or different styles of music. You know, out there we got, you know, you got the Mexicans, you got black kids, Filipinos, whites, you know, and everybody kicks it, and we just all, you know, it's like a cultural melting pot. And it's something that you don't necessarily get everywhere else in Southern California. So it was just important for me to just, you know, to just state that, like, that's where I'm from. It's made me who I am. It's kind of formed who I am. And, you know, just to have the next generations that come up behind us feel like some kind of pride. Like, yeah, you know, there's people before us who came from the Cove that was doing things, you know, hard work, Jansport J, Trek Life, TZ Wonder, you know. So it's important to just create that pride from the area.
Yeah, and for the next generation, like you said, it's really important because when you don't see somebody from where you're at kind of taking that next step, it's hard for you to envision it, you know what I mean? Because you don't see it, somebody like you doing it. So
that's real.
I'm sure the next generation looking up you can serve as like a good role model for them. Yeah,
because we had people that we were kind of looking up to that might have said they were from LA, you know, because it just made sense to, you know, especially outside of California, it's all just LA to them. But I don't know. We took pride in saying that we were from the Cove, and you know, hopefully that representation means something to people, and people get inspired from that area to continue to do great things.
Yeah, and I want to touch on something you said earlier too, just the fact that the city has like a lot of diversity, because I moved away for a few years, and you really don't realize it until you move away and you see how important having that diversity, whether you're chilling with like Mexicans, Latinos, Asians, blacks, whites, like everybody gets along, and it teaches you something when you're later on in life to like work well with other people of different ethnicities and cultures, right?
Yeah, and you're familiar with different people's cultures. I just went down to Mexico like on a vacation with my girl, and she was surprised. Not that I speak it fluently, but you know, we just kind of get around speaking Spanish and even speaking some of the, you know, the slang and stuff. And that's just all a testament to, you know, I grew up around Mexicans for a good portion of my life. And then, you know, if you want to get some Filipino food, you know, what kind of food you want to get, you know, just all that kind of coming together is super important to me, just to be as cultured as you can be, and traveling around adds even more to that. So I'm glad we kind of got the head start having that melting pot like we do.
Yes, sir. Shout out to the Cove, man. We can talk about the Cove all day. We'll have to name this episode The Cove.
Right.
But when did your musical journey really start? Like when you were growing up, when did you decide that you wanted to kind of tap into the producing bag?
I would say, well, like my first real love for it came when I heard Timbaland in '97. He did I Can't Stand the Rain for Missy, and that beat sounded like nothing that I had ever heard before. And so I learned at that moment what a producer was, and I started, you know, just researching, and always had my mind on, I would tell people I want to be a basketball player and a music producer. I was like 11 years old saying that. And high school is when my friend got FL Studio, like the early versions.
Oh, yeah.
And we would just kind of mess around and we would just like we were goofy, so we would make like kind of spoof songs and stuff like that. But then I started to take it seriously. And when I went to college, because we would always do beats on his computer. So I got a laptop when I went to college, and I went and got a little credit card and bought FL Studio. And in that moment, it was kind of like, okay, you invested in music equipment for the first time. So now this needs to be like something serious.
It's not just a hobby anymore. It's like,
yeah.
okay.
It was important for me to take that little $150 and be like, okay, cool, this is what I'm doing now. Now I got to start putting out music and start this journey.
So when you were in college is when you started taking it more seriously, you said?
Yeah, probably my freshman year of college. Yeah.
That is cool that when you were younger, you said you were 11, you either wanted to be a basketball player or a producer.
Yeah.
I think that's dope because a lot of kids, especially at that age, see the like rapper, or they see the forefront person, you know what I mean? Not a lot of kids, like maybe now, but.
Yeah, no, I've always kind of been like a background person. I'm comfortable with the stage and the light, but I'm always I would rather just be behind the scenes, helping put things together. It kind of suits my personality. And I was kind of a quirky kid like that anyways. My mom, I think she could see, I don't know if she knew exactly what it was going to be, but she knew I was into audio. She used to put blank cassette tapes in my stockings at Christmas.
Oh, really?
Because I would take the cassette tapes and I would listen to the radio and just record all my favorite songs. And I was making mixtapes without knowing I was doing that, just in elementary school.
Just subliminally making mixtapes.
Yeah, so my mom, whenever she saw that I would do weird stuff like that, she would feed it, So it was definitely important to have that as well.
Yeah, and at the age where you started taking things more seriously in college, how did you start progressing? Like, how did you start learning how to do like the technical aspects of what producing is?
Yeah, well, it's just a lot of trial and error. I'm not too good with being super technical with things. I just kind of figure things out as I go. And if you make beats for like 4 or 5 hours a day when you start, you're gonna figure some shit out. So, I had already knew how to count bars. I had already just studying music growing up. I think elementary school I had noticed. I think I wrote down the words to Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise, and I noticed that there were like 16 rhymes. And then I started counting that in all these other songs, and I was like, okay, so usually verses are like 16 lines or 16 bars, and then the hook is always like 8. So along the way, you just kind of pick up on stuff like that. And I think that's what I was doing in college as well. I was a little bit more advanced as far as what I knew, but it was just a matter of working out all the kinks, sampling for the first time, figuring out how to chop things up. And then at the same time, just listening to my influences. At that time, I was heavy on Ninth Wonder and Little Brother.
Okay.
I was heavy on Kanye West. This is all college. I was getting into Dilla a little bit, Swizz Beats, all that sort of stuff. I would even I would always get albums and look up the credits of who produced what. A lot of times I could tell just from my ear, but I would separate my iTunes into different producers.
Okay.
So my Kanye West, folder would be all the beats that he did on Jay-Z's album and Benny Siegel's album. And so you start to hear the sound of this is what Kanye West sounds like, this is what Ninth Wonder sounds like. And that kind of helped me try to figure out how to develop my own sound.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that, like, if all these artists that you mentioned have an influence on your sound.
Yeah,
right now.
For sure. The biggest influences would be Pete Rock, Ninth Wonder, Premier, Dilla, Madlib. Those are like the magical 5. And then beyond that, there's Kanye, there's the Neptunes were heavy, Swizz Beats. I can go on and on, but I graduated high school in 2004, so like that whole era of, I'd say hip hop from like 99 to like 2005, 2006 was like super helping me out in my developmental stages as far as producing.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because a lot of people say that like when you start off with music and honestly anything, you try to replicate your idols and then you end up finding your own sound.
You're gonna sound just like them. Like my very first beats I was ever making sounded like the Neptunes.
Oh, really?
And then when I started getting the hang of it, everything sounded like Ninth Wonder. I had the snare and everything. And you have to do that to start to figure out your own sound. You got to figure out exactly what these people are doing and taking elements of what you like from them and start to create your own and make some mistakes and experiment and stuff like that. So I always tell like younger producers, because I know that's like something that people might struggle with, where it's like you sound just like your favorite producer, and you should when you start out. Like that's, you're getting your reps and you're practicing, and so the more you do it, the more you start to find your own sound.
Yeah, and producing is such like a time intensive profession.
Yeah.
So obviously you have to have a lot of patience. So do you think you're at a point right now where you have your own sound? And if so, when at what point in your journey did you start to branch off to your own sound?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I have my own sound. It took a long time for me. I would say probably around when I got to Sole Provider in my catalog, it started to feel like I was developing my own sound and starting to have my own fan base that liked what I did. And I think when I did my Pharaoh album, that was like the height of like, this is me and this is what I do. But, you know, even saying that, that's like maybe 8 years into my journey of just like, you know, trying different things and figuring it out.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, could you say that you like definitely love what you do?
Yeah, for sure. I always think that I'm like, going back to what I said when I was 11 years old, I said I want to be a basketball player and a music producer. I'm one of the few people in the world that are actually doing what they said they wanted to do when they were a kid, you know, like down to the very title. So I enjoy what I do. The higher you get up and the more you get into the business side, you start to learn, you know, what you like, what you don't like. There's a lot not to like, but I always recenter myself and just think like, man, I have a kid's job, you know what I'm saying? I make beats.
True.
So I always just try and come back to that and remember at the end of the day, this is what is the foundation of everything. So.
Yeah, and it's really dope to think about the fact that you've created a life for yourself that like your 11-year-old self would be proud of, you know?
Yeah, no, it's a trip. It's for sure a trip.
Yeah. So you said there's a few things about like the music industry you do and you don't like. What are some of those things, like, for example? Yeah,
it sounds cliche, but the politics of the music business, the protocol of the music business. There's just a lot of things that I'm really starting to get into the past year or so, where you just kind of ask yourself, why do we do it like this? This makes no sense. This is like...
But it's just been implemented like that for so long.
But it's always been this way, and this is how the label does it.
Okay.
And okay, cool, we'll play this game. But what I love about music, especially right now, and my path, to be specific, is that you can kind of make your own way. I think a lot of what's happening for me recently is because I was kind of off to the side being myself, doing this soul music for years, and I had the respect of people who were higher up in the industry on the artist side. You know, people like Hitboy, Dom Kennedy, just all these different people, Quentin Miller, they've always fucked with me and respected me. And so when it came down to these people being so high up now and we're all working together, it makes the business side of it, even though some of that shit could be annoying, it's like it's gonna get done because this is the field that we're operating on. Okay. So, I would just say, like, thankfully, just because I have my own route and then I put out my beat tapes, I tour on my own, all that kind of stuff. Whenever all that stuff is overwhelming, I'll just go and do my own shit and get it popping and then hop back. Yeah, like the music industry, the business is like, me and my manager kind of describe it as like, that's the sprinkle on top, you know, like everything that I do is what needs to be able to, you know, sustain my lifestyle. But the checks that come from the label, the random placements here and there, that's the sprinkle on top of what you're doing. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So because you've been in the game for so long, you've been studying music for a while, even if it was subliminally studying it. So the way music is going right now, just like how it's changed with streaming and like how it's a little bit easier to be independent now more than ever. How have you noticed things change in the music industry, especially like in the last 10 years?
Well, I think within the music industry, as far as labels and stuff, the body of work is devalued now. It's a single driven industry. It's playlisting. It's, get the one. It's like the labels put a lot more resources behind a song instead of the body of work, the album.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that's changed now?
It's less risk for them. Like, it's less investment. It's like, it's almost like they wait for you to get hot and then they bring you in and they want to put out a couple singles. And if it takes, all right, cool, we'll rush the album out. We'll take those 6 or 7 songs that you put out that were buzzing. This is the core of your album. We're going to sprinkle 3 more on there. And instead of it being like, okay, I'm going to go off and work on something, I'm going to make a statement, with this body of work. It's a lot more strategic, which, I can't even knock it because it makes sense for the labels. And if you want to play that game, you can go in that lane and play it. But I'd say on the flip side, in the music industry right now, you have a lot of self-made artists who are making a lot of money. People just like the whole Griselda camp, and a lot of the rappers that are coming out of New York, and just kind of on the whole straight loop hip-hop style. There's a lot of dudes who are doing that, and it's not the nerdy hip-hop shit from before. It's like they're fly dudes who are just rapping on loops, and they're selling their merchandise crazy, and they're selling vinyl crazy, and they're getting the playlisting because these playlisting people see that they're going crazy, like, with tangible goods, so they must be hot, so now we got to include them in what we're doing. And that's more so the game that I try to play, as far as, like, have tangible fans, have tangible merchandise and goods and vinyl records, and have stuff that people can live with, because these streaming services, your album could be taken down tomorrow, and it's like you were never here.
How? Why?
Well, it's all up in the head. You got to think, like, when you go to listen to an album, it's literally on your phone, right? So
I see what you're saying.
If Apple Music
just takes the shit tomorrow,
or somebody has a strike on your album, or a takedown notice or something like that.
There's a lot that's out of your control, right?
Yeah, it's all on the cloud, and it could be gone really quickly, as opposed to that vinyl record. That's here forever. I look at my vinyl and I'm just like, a fan's going to buy this and then they're going to get rid of it in 20 years and it's going to be in like a bin at some random record store one day, but I'm still here. I'm here. This album's going to be here like longer than I'll be here. So
very true. Yeah, that you created something that's going to live on past your time.
And that's what's important to me. My whole thing is I want to leave things here. I'm more so driven towards legacy than trying to get everything that I can get.
Yeah. Would you? With that being said, would you say that you like where music is at right now, or do you not like the trajectory that it's going?
Yeah, I try to be a positive person. What I like about the industry right now is that it could be whatever you want it to be. You don't have to be a slave to a label anymore. And I don't even want to use that word, but you don't have to go through the label system. If you want to go through the label system, you want to make it work for you, you can do that. Like, you have choices now. Or you can decide, I'm just going to get on my independent grind. It's going to take a lot of work, but I'm going to build this up myself. I like that there's options within the field now. So I would say for the most part, I do like where music is at. I think what we could use just on a wider scale is balance, and that's the hip hop that I grew up with. I often tell people I grew up listening to like a NWA, and then you could listen to like the 69 Boys as well, or like No Limit, BG and stuff like that, and then you can go and listen to the Souls of Mischief. All that was playing in the crib because it was all dope, and I feel like or just playing on the radio, and I think now the balance is a little bit more to the mainstream commercial side. So I think, but at the same time, you have people like West Side Gun and Benny the Butcher who are bringing it back towards the center. So that's the only thing I would ask for the game, like for now, is just more balance, and it's coming.
Okay, yeah, it's good to know that things are taking a turn for the better. You mentioned earlier working with some LA legends like Hitboy and Dom Kennedy. What is it like working with them, just being from a similar area like LA?
It's natural and it's cool because I've known Hitboy since maybe 2011. So before he did Christmas in Harlem and signed the deal with Kanye. So it's just dope to see somebody just work their ass off, because I know how hard he works, and to see him where he's at now is incredible. And to be, we've always kind of worked on and off over the years, but the past 2 years we kind of been locked in. So to see, just the conversations we have in the studio about what he wants to do, about what I want to do, just our goals where we want to be able to help push music towards, and to see him doing it right now, it's like incredible. And for me, it's just it's an opportunity to, I always tell people it's important to play your position. I know Hitboy is one of the greatest producers ever, so the fact that my guy kind of came up to this rank to be one of the greatest ever, and we're able to work, I know, like, I'm gonna take direction from him. Like, if he wants to hear what I'm doing, cool, like, play some of these joints, you want to flip the drums on it, all right, let's work on it. We just take ego out the room. And it's the same with Dom. I find the most successful people I've worked with have been the most relaxed and easygoing.
Really?
Like, yeah, less hang-ups, no real frills about anything. They're just ready to work. So
that's dope to hear, and it's good to hear that, like, you have that perspective of Hitboy, because it means he deserves it, everything that he's getting. And to surround yourself with somebody like that has to be inspirational, because you're like, all right, I see him working this hard. So I know that, like, if you stay true to your sound and put the work in, like, it's gonna pay off.
Yeah, we push each other. Being around him and Chasing Cash, they just pushed me to, like, put more stuff out, because I had a lot of music, but I was kind of being precious with it. I might drop a project a year or something like that, and getting over there and just seeing how much we worked, it was like, man, I'm gonna just drop this beat tape, I'm gonna do this collaboration now. It's all, creative real estate. That's one of the concepts that he really put me up on, where it's just like, if you got a lot of dope shit out there, people are gonna catch on to it, and it's momentum, and that's exactly what's happened. So it's important to be in these rooms with people that push you to be better, but at the same time they take instruction from you as well.
Got you. So do you think that one of the reasons why you kind of, like, didn't put out as much music, like, you're putting out a project a year, you said, do you think that is it because you're a little bit critical of your work, or why do you think?
Not even that. I think I just came from the school of just romanticizing the album, the idea of, like, I believe that you gotta live some life in between albums, and then put your all into it, and spend a year with it, and grow out your hair and grow out your beard. These are all things I've done in the past, working on albums. But I still had that mindset of, somebody like Kendrick. It's been 3 or 4 years since he's put out an album, but just being able to take the time to do that. But the reality is, with today's just playing field with music, you gotta continue to put stuff out there. And I had the real, realization that music has always been my best PR. Like, anytime I put out music is when I get a lot of feedback from people. I get a lot of, just momentum. So it's like, okay, if I continue to put out music, then this momentum is gonna get rolling. And I just had to change my approach and the way I looked at putting out these projects. I just looked at them as mini albums. So when I did a beat tape a month last year, it was like, okay, cool, you're gonna spend a week or 2 working on this album, and then you're gonna mix and master it, and you're gonna get it out, and then you're going on to the next one. But each one was my focus. So it's just like taking that album cycle that used to be a year and just bringing it all the way down. So
have things changed as far as your strategy goes with what you explained during this pandemic, like COVID element? Because people are, like, pushing out music, like, fast right now.
Yeah. I would say what's changed for me is just more time to sit and think. And what we've been focusing on is, like, okay, cool, like, you started getting some more placements, you started getting some more beat tapes and stuff out there. Now let's focus on the merchandise, and now let's take time to plot that out for 2021. So the pandemic really kind of gave me the opportunity, because we tour a lot and move around. It gave me the opportunity to sit and just really start forecasting earlier and figuring out what we want to do. So
yeah, because you have to have, like, other streams of revenue, right? Because touring's not here. So does the rollout process of releasing music, is it different, being that that you're not going to tour off a certain?
No, because we just kind of go out. We don't even base it around any kind of music. We're kind of self-starters on that end. Me and my manager will just, either somebody sending for us to come out somewhere, or it's just like, yo, let's go get a ticket and put our feet on the ground out there and, DJ some shows and do some beat sets and let people get to know you. And then come out next time and pick up some more bags. But it's like we're going regardless of if I have an album out or not, because I put out so much music that I can go and promote any album, like the most recent thing, and it's still kind of it fits that time period. So like when we went out to Japan, I think we were pushing maybe Soul Fidelity or the best of the beat tapes. I just put out a compilation with my favorite joints over the 12 that I did.
Okay.
And so we pushed CDs and some merchandise out there. So
dope.
Yeah.
Where you must have traveled to a lot of dope places, right?
Yeah, I've been able to go to Japan. We went to Madrid, Spain last year to work on the album. Go back and forth from Toronto, a little bit over Europe and stuff like that.
Do you ever like sit and think when you're traveling to these places that like you're like, damn, like music brought me here?
Yeah, all the time, especially when I'm in the airport. I'm like, I'm here because I make beats.
That's so dope.
So I imagine if I didn't just that one day decided not to make beats, you know what I'm saying? Like, or if I decided to do something else with my life. And that's all I wanted to do as a kid too, is just travel. So the opportunity to go and do it with music and to play music and people speaking different languages, but they all just kind of connect to the music. Like that's, really the biggest blessing to me.
Yeah, and you just think about like, damn, I'm from Covina out here.
Yeah,
in these
exactly.
crazy
Like
places.
from the Cove to, I had my first sold out show in Japan in February, right before the pandemic.
Oh wow!
And that was a moment where, I was just saying, being in LA, I love LA, but when you perform and work within the scene, you can kind of feel like you're just another cog in the wheel or a cog in the machine, because everybody in the crowd probably raps or sings or they do something.
Yeah.
So they might not want to buy the ticket. They're trying to get on the list. Everybody's cool in LA. I love LA, but everybody's cool here.
No, it's very true.
So when you leave here and you do shows, you look at yourself at a level lower than you might actually be. So when we went to Japan and we saw a sold out crowd and they were ready for my music, it just blew my mind, because I'm just like, I knew I had fans there, but I didn't know they were waiting for this. So
yeah,
that's why it's important to just pick up and leave too, to go see the world and go see where your fans are at.
That's got to be super humbling to realize you have such a good fan base in like another country.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was amazing.
Yeah, that's fire.
Yeah.
What is, switching gears a little bit, like what is your creation process like from like start to finish when you're making a track?
It can vary. It could be me in the grocery store hearing something crazy and using the Shazam and running home to sample it, or a lot of times I just kind of collect records and just let them play, and I'll play a record, throw ones to the side that I feel like I want to mess with, and then as soon as I'm done going through the record, just kind of go through the ones that I picked and load it up into machine and just try and chop it up, add some drums to it. It really is, it switches up a lot, but I'd say the most consistent version is just me just getting a lot of music and then just kind of sitting with it and picking out what stands out to me.
What do you do when you get in like a creative block? Because I'm sure it probably gets frustrating, right?
Yeah. That's when I just start working on other facets of my career. Sometimes I'll just DJ. Which I really miss doing, but just going out and I'll just DJ at the crib, and I'll go through my old funk records, soul records, and do little sets, and then I might hear something that I want to mess with from that, or it could just be like, you know what, I'm not even feeling like making beats this week. I'm gonna send out these emails, get all this administrative stuff lined up, register my songs. I'm gonna send beat packs out to certain people. I just always try to do something every single day, so at the end of the day I could say, I got ahead today by doing, this, that, or the third. So
got you.
Just always trying to stay in some kind of progression with it.
All right, so you're not staying like stagnant with it.
Yeah, I try not to. It's not always beats, but like I said, it could be. I'm like an administrative nerd, so I'll sit there and make Excel sheets and look at what I've been bringing in, or what's been going out, all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, it seems like that's a constant theme for you. As far as like stepping away from something and coming back to it when you're ready to do it again.
Yeah, just not letting it get stale. If it's not there, it's not there. There should be plenty of other things that you could work on, but still feel like, all right, cool, I did this today. So, like I haven't made a beat probably in like a week, honestly.
Is that a long time for you?
Yeah. It usually doesn't go longer than a week, but yeah, it's just like I haven't been there yet to like really sit and cook up. But the week before that, I was just going crazy. So maybe because I made like 20 or 30 beats in the week, I'm just like, you already worked. You worked ahead. So
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it comes in waves.
yeah,
Like,
and then it'll be, if I didn't make any beats this week, it might have been because I sent out like 6 or 7 different beat packs. So this artist wants some joints, so I got to listen to what makes sense for them, and then like that's work in itself. So
this whole process that you're explaining, have you always had it, or did you stumble upon it like throughout your career?
I developed it the busier things got. I've always had the mindset and the idea of just staying busy. Just I don't like idle hands. So as much as I can, make sure I'm working on something. But yeah, like speaking on the beat packs, honestly, that got a lot heavier as soon as some of the Hitboy co-production came out. A lot of people started tapping in. So my biggest thing is you have to stay ready. And so because I work so much and I have so many beats to the side, my manager, he loves me, and we'll just joke about it because anytime he says, yo, so-and-so hit us up, we need a pack for him, I got it that day.
Oh,
because
it's already...
I don't like having that in the back. All right, I got to get this. It's like, no, if I can do it right now, let's do it right now, get it over. That's off my plate because there's so many other things. So.
Wow. I think that must be a big reason for your success, because you're basically setting yourself up for future success.
Yeah.
An opportunity is not even there yet, and you're already prepared for it.
Well, yeah, to me, success takes a lot of failure. So you got to think all these packs I'm sending, I might have sent out beat packs to like 10 or 12 different people, and then over the next month or two of the artists hit back and say, yo, we want to use this for that, or what I'm saying, or even, not to be too specific, but I had a situation happen this week. A song I recorded with a major label artist last year, it didn't make his album, but an artist that was featured on it just hit me up a couple of days ago saying they wanted to use it. So it's like the failure of that one placement that didn't happen, and I don't think about it ever again. Just because we went and did the work and it's there, it can go make me some money over here with this artist because now they want to use it.
Oh,
because
shit,
the name is
okay.
kind of going up a little bit too, because you're seeing it all over the place. But in order to be able to do that, you got to have thick skin and just, like I said, like I'm sending
Keep it
packs,
pushing.
yeah, like like a no, just getting no's or just no responses. My biggest thing is I would rather, if something doesn't work out, it's not going to be because I didn't do what I needed to do.
Okay.
It's not going to be because of lack of effort. I sent the folder, I sent, this, that, and the third. If it didn't work, they just weren't feeling it. But I always want to make sure I did everything I could do in the situation.
Because you could live with that.
Exactly. I had the Nas album. I had a joint on there me and Hitboy had.
Okay.
And it got cut due to sample clearance, I believe. But in the process of that, I knew who held the song, so I got on the phone just to try and get them in contact with Nas's camp, and I didn't know what was going to happen from there. But in that moment, because Hit called me, he was like, "Yo, they're tripping on the sample." I was like, "Okay, if the song doesn't make it, and I tried to connect people and they just didn't make it, then that's fine. But if I just sat here knowing that I probably know who controls that song, and I didn't do anything about it, that's just going to eat me up forever."
Yeah, that's
and
very
so
true.
Moments like that, it's like, it's all good. It didn't make it, and I had an amazing experience just meeting Nas and sitting and listening to an album with him. So
that's fire. Yeah. It sounds like you have a pretty good work ethic. Where do you think you developed this?
Both of my parents worked pretty hard. And it wasn't so much that they preached hard work. I just saw it. My mom would get up, go to work at 5 a.m. My dad just worked constantly, So, I just always saw it. And I just take pride in it too. It's just, and I think it's the easiest way to success. I don't think I'm the craziest, most talented producer, but I know if I just work, I know I'm good enough. And if I just continue to work, things can work out. So
yeah, there's that cliche saying like, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Exactly. And I've seen it because I, just being around for so long, I've seen incredible artists and producers just not get to where, even I am. You know, they should be way past where I am. But it's like, it's not always the most talented people. It's like that talent is just a portion of what you need.
That's crazy to think about, that there's like so many other factors, and that's in anything in life. Like I used to play football. I played college football, and throughout my whole life, I saw that too. I saw a lot of people that were super talented, but there's so many factors that come into play, whether it's like drugs, grades, other things that don't involve talent. Yeah. You know?
And sometimes it's not even any of that. It's just going above and beyond. I tell people all the time now, I'm like, if you got to be able to deal with the bullshit in this music business, because you could be as talented as you want to be, but there's a lot of shit that comes with this, and you just gotta have a vision for what you want to do and a love for it, because if you don't, it'll eat you up.
Yep,
like
the love.
It's not tight, but when you come in focused and you know this is what I'm trying to do, then you can do everything you need to do.
Yeah, that's very true. Because if you didn't love it, like the game would probably spit you up,
spit you right out. Like with any field, you know what I'm saying? Like if you don't love it, it's kind of hard to do it. You know?
Very true. Yeah, that's like how I am with this podcast, even, because there's tons of work that go into it that I didn't know about before getting into it.
Right.
But I know I love it because I'm willing to go through all the bullshit of editing, of mixing, mastering,
and just building it up. I'm sure too, because you got to go, like when you start, just like even with music, you got to put your effort into this body of work, and then just put it out there, knowing that it's not going to have the highest viewership or listeners, but you got to have the mindset of this is a part of my, my foundation that I'm building, and so when I get to a certain point, everybody's going to come back and listen to all of this. And that's really what's been happening with me. People going back and buying older albums and understanding where I came from. So
yeah, and I was going to ask you that too. When you were first starting off and you just started releasing music and it wasn't getting a lot of plays, did it kind of like affect you at all in the beginning?
No, honestly it didn't, because I was just having fun. And I came up at a very a special time. Kind of going back to Covina, I was back there just making my beats and stuff, where I was at college at Pepperdine, and I would come back home back and forth, but this was around maybe 2006 2007. This is when the LA I guess you would call it like the blog era scene started popping off. So you had Dom Kennedy and you had Pac Div and Blue and just all these different characters really starting to get online and on the internet to these like major blog sites, and they were starting to blow up. And what I was noticing is that they were having these LA shows and these LA parties and stuff like that where they would perform. And I'm a quiet guy, I stay to myself, I'm an introvert, but because I love music so much and I'm in the Cove, I'm like, I got to start going to these shows and just meeting people and just networking. So that's me coming out of my element, but because I loved it so much, I was like, I'm gonna just go out here and just start meeting people. And that's exactly what happened. I met Dom early on. I met all these people and just started working and just building up over time. So it was a mix, between me, nobody hearing my shit, and then at the same time meeting people who were already starting to get that buzz and just working with them and building it up from there. And
those relationships that you made back then are serving you now, which is dope to think about.
Me and Dom work so easy now because I met Dom in 2008 when he did Miss Donna Karen. That's when we met before people got super successful. So when you run into people, and it's important just for these people to know your character and your reputation. I think the one thing that these people could tell you about me is Jansport's always been working. He's always did that soul sample shit. He's always been solid.
So you got a reputation now.
Yeah, so it's time to fuck with each other. It's time. I need you on my album. I need you on here, because it's almost like it's battle scars making it this long. When you've been making music for 12 years and you have a lot of new people come in, but you can see familiar faces from the beginning, and you guys are on a similar level. So let's fuck with each other. Let's do something. So
and I think there's something to be said about the fact that like you and I've said this before on this podcast, but you can do something now that's not going to benefit you, but it can benefit you in like 4 or 5 years, which is important 100%. To understand, because people want to reap the benefits of something they did like immediately, but
it's all a building block, and that works both ways. You could be a dickhead and that sticks with you over time.
Very true.
He fucked over so and so back then. We don't fuck with him. People might not fuck with you and you don't even know that you don't know them or why they don't fuck with you because you did some dumb shit in the past. So that's why it's important. Like every move you make, like starting out, whatever you do, just work hard and try and be solid. You know, like don't fuck people over. Be honest with people, and it's not too hard. You know, you keep doing it, you'll get somewhere.
Yeah, that applies to anything.
Yeah, 100%.
Whatever you do, I definitely agree with that. Where did the name Jansport J come from?
It came from, it's funny because I hate the name, but
you hate the name?
Yeah, I mean, I hate the name because people still expect me to wear a Jansport backpack, and this is like from 2005. But it came from, Pharrell is like one of my favorite producers ever. So Pharrell had the In My Mind album, and he had that cartoon character on the front. And this is MySpace era. So back then, I think as part of the promo, they had that little character. You could dress it up like you know, you could customize it or whatever. So Pharrell went by Skateboard P. Yeah. So I made one. At that time, I always wore a backpack, and my name is Justin, so I just said Jansport J. And I just put that on the character, and that was it. My boy, who was, at this time, he was recording a mixtape, which was a big deal because not everybody had access to, like, record a mixtape back then. So he got on the Little Brother joint, which was my favorite group, and he shouted me out on there. He said, yeah, this is for Jansport J right here. And so when he said that, I was like, damn, I got to keep that name so people know he was talking about me. So that I just ended up keeping that name. But it all just came from me, like, making the little character on MySpace saying Jansport J.
That's funny.
Yeah, so just stuck from there.
Yeah, I think it's dope. I think it goes, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, people definitely remember it, and it sticks with people. I had my homegirl works for Snoop, so I was sending him records like a couple of years back, and he remembers me because he said, "Oh, that's Cuz with the funny name." Like, I like that. His shit is dope. So it's definitely like it sticks with people.
Yeah, so. And Jansports are such a staple, like especially back in those times, like in high school.
Yeah, for sure. It's a hip hop staple.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder if kids are still rocking Jansports in school,
hope so.
Or like, you know.
I hope so. And I was a little thirsty, like super ambitious kid because I remember when I first started, I was writing Jansport like every day, maybe on MySpace or something like that. Or I might have found an email to somebody, and I wrote this long letter to...
You were writing it to the company? Jansport?
Yeah, to the company. And I was saying, hi, my name is Jansport J. But I was writing to them explaining that they needed to do a tour, like a hip-hop tour, like Vans Warped Tour was doing. Because I was explaining to them about backpack hip-hop and like the different artists in that realm, and I was like, you guys should be owning this market as far as like just do a tour once a year and like a chance, like get involved with the hip hop culture. And some lady in marketing, like she must have like just thought it was cute that I kept emailing, so she invited me to a show that they were doing, which ended up being You and I, which had Thurs in there, which we all fuck with each other now. But they were starting to try to do some of that stuff. I don't know what happened with it, but
that's crazy.
Yeah,
my man almost A&R'd Jansport Records.
So, and from then on, I was like, they know about me, so they should never send me a cease and desist. So I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
For sure. They need to throw you a sponsorship. Jansport, if you're listening to this,
at some point we got to do something.
You got to work with them, bro.
Right.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
What do you have going on in the near future? Do you have any projects that you're working on right now that you're...
Yeah, what am I working on? Just more beat tapes for sure, and just some collaborations. Me and Quentin Miller working on some stuff. Me and Hitboy still working. Me and Dom working. Trying to put together a compilation album for next year, hopefully. Yeah, man, just continuing to work. And like I said, the merchandise is my biggest thing now. I've had a loyal following for years, and I just think it's time for me to give them a world to live in and to be proud to be a Jansport J fan. So that's kind of what I'm like really focusing on in 2021, and then just continuing to work and get some placements, you know.
Okay.
I feel like the sound that I do is starting to come back, and so it's important to just kind of, you know, run it up while it's over here, you know.
Yeah, so. You got to come out with a backpack, bro. Have you done that yet?
Yeah, at some point. I hear it all the time, but it's funny because I wear it when I travel, but I don't wear backpacks like that. So
that's true.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll do something. Gonna definitely do a bunch of different items.
Okay.
So,
are there any artists that you would like to work with that you haven't already?
I always blank when I get this question, and then as soon as I get home, I'm like, oh, I should have said that. I mean, I want to do some more R&B stuff. Okay, yeah, Larry June. Larry June is somebody I want to work with. I've sent some stuff to DZA, Jay Worthy. But honestly, anybody that's willing to work, you know, what's dope about working with Hitboy is that anybody comes in that room. You know, one day it'll be Big Sean, the next day it might be Conway. You know, like you get so many different people in there. I tell him he needs to shoot like a documentary, like a Fade to Black, on what he's doing over there right now, because there's been so many moments that I just personally seen up there that are crazy. You know, I got to sit with him and Nipsey during the Racks in the Middle sessions.
Oh, really?
Like that's some shit I'm gonna remember forever. But yeah, man. But yeah, just with, you know, different people that come through there, just continue to work with Hit. I would love to work with Don Cannon some more. Another producer, DJ. You know, just whoever's trying to work, really.
Yeah. Are there any new artists that are out right now that you're feeling?
I like Boldy James a lot. Who else am I listening to? That's tough. I always blank on these. Yeah, Boldy James, the Griselda Camp. My man Heem, he's signed to Benny the Butcher. He's dope. Okay. I like this singer Chantel May. This is a singer from Canada named Lisa, who's very dope. So
how do you find out about these new artists? Like,
I just listen to shit.
You just listen to a lot of shit?
Like that's the DJ side that kind of comes out, and being a producer, I just try and keep my ears on things that are coming up.
Just digging.
So yeah, really just digging. Recommendations from people. Just things that kind of come across the radar.
Where can people follow you on if they want to follow your journey? What like socials?
So we got JansportJmusic.com. That's got my catalog. AllAttractionNoChasing.com is going to be like my merchandise home. So we got the hats now. We're getting a T-shirt done that's recapping everything that happened this year. So I'm excited about that. Jansport J on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff.
Got you. Yeah. Okay, for sure. Well, I'm excited to continue to watch the rest of your journey. And I appreciate you coming on again. What you're doing is inspirational for people like me and from the city. So keep doing what you're doing. One more question though. If you could talk to like that 11-year-old you that we were talking about earlier, what would you say to yourself if you could have a conversation with him?
I would say, you won't believe this, but you actually did that shit. Yeah. I think the 11-year-old me would be he'd be I don't know. I think he would look at me and think I was cool, because like I'm pretty much doing what I said I wanted to do, you know.
Yeah.
I think that he'd be happy, you know, that everything that's to come is all worth something, and there's a lot further to go. This has been an incredible year. I was telling Sharon on Twitter, I usually keep this private, but I just felt the need to put it out there to try and inspire people. But, you know, not too far from here, actually a couple blocks down, I worked a job for 7 years. I got up at 4 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. every day and went in there, left at 3 o'clock, and I would go do all my music stuff. And I was doing that every day for the past 7 years, and I just left that job this year.
You did?
Yeah.
Man,
so
congratulations,
it's crazy,
bro. That's crazy.
The pandemic hit, and so they kept me on for a little bit, and that's when some of the music stuff was starting to do well. And I think it was like my nudge, because I don't know if I would have been able to just like leave it so easily. But with the pandemic and me staying at home, I was just like, yeah, I gotta make my transition now. So
wow, so it was a blessing in disguise. Basically.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I went to Japan, and I flew to Japan on my birthday. Came back, and the pandemic hit, and that was pretty much my last time working. So really, like, my birthday was the last day.
Wow, your birthday.
Going on a Japan tour. Yeah. Shit. So some poetic justice there.
Hell yeah. And I think that's important for a lot of people to hear, because a lot of people that are listening to this are creatives themselves, and obviously everyone starts off with having a job, and then whatever their passion is kind of their side hustle.
And it's so important to, you know, I can't tell people, because personally, I didn't really share with the public that I had a job. It's not that I would deny it, but it's almost like you can't put that out there because people will try to lowball you and think, think whatever.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say that it's important to not feel ashamed to work for something and to let your work fund your actual aspirations and to make a plan for it. You know what I'm saying? Just say like, all right, cool, this is what I'm going to do. I'm taking this much of my check, or I'm taking, once my music money started to come, and it's like, all right, this is just going to be savings. Just come up with a plan and see your way out of that position. But don't be afraid to do what you got to do to get to it.
Yeah.
And you got to bust your ass. There's no way around it. Like I didn't like waking up every day at 4:30 a.m., but that shit teaches you discipline and it makes you really go hard with everything else. So. Yeah, I don't know why I shared that at the end.
No, thank you for sharing that, because I'm in a similar stage right now, because I have a job, you know what I mean, and that supports this. I'm able to do this because I have the job. But obviously, anybody that has a job and a side passion wants to make that passion their full-time thing. So the fact that you share that is really inspirational, especially for me, and like I said, anybody that's listening, because that's what just happened to you is the goal,
Yeah, and is discipline. Like I said, 7 years, and that goes back to just even to talk about the music industry, like doing things that you don't want to do, but if you have a plan for it, it's like, if you know that you got to do this for 7 years, but at the end of the 7 years you'll be able to do what you want to do, are you signing up for that? Yeah. Most people are probably going to say no. But if you say yes, then you already have the mindset and the passion for whatever it is that you want to do.
Exactly.
So just go ahead and go after it.
Yeah, that's what I tell myself too. I'm like, I know I'm in this for the long haul.
Right,
and I think about that sometimes when some episodes do good, some episodes don't do as good, and when some don't do as good, I think about that. I'm like, you know what? I'm in this for the long haul. Like,
and it's there. It's not going anywhere. So it's like people are going to come back to it when you hit that one interview that people love. They're going to go back to the other ones and say, oh, he's been killing it with that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll have a catalog and reputation for people to look back on.
Right.
All right, man. We're going to end on that. Again, I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir.
From Ambiance, Jansport J, Levi. Shout out to Covina. Shout out to the Cove 626.
Yes, sir.
And that's a wrap. Peace.
Yep. Peace.